evening. Welcome to Remembrance Reads Day 13. I'm talking a little quietly because it is 10:30 almost and my housemates may be asleep. This is probably the smartest you will ever see me. Don't expect it as a regular thing. I finished off today The Great War and Modern Memory by Paul Fussell. The 9th chapter and the sort of afterword which he wrote in 2000, if I remember rightly. The final chapter is about the sort of literary value of World War One memoirs. He refers to Sassoon, Blunden and Graves as second level, as not first rank, second rank, as second rank writers, which I think, considering the amount of time he's just spent talking about them, seems damning with the faintest of faint praise. But the last chapter is fascinating. The book as a whole, I think it is. As I said, I don't always agree with some of his conclusions. Actually, in this chapter, the book he talks about most actually is Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, which is I think at best about the Second World War. I've never read it. I've always been a little bit scared of that book. But he talks about the sort of World War One influences on the chapters about World War Two, or on the sections about World War Two. It has made me want to read Gravity's Rainbow. But it's odd it takes up so much space in this book about World War One. Although he's constantly through the book been sort of referring to how the language of World War Two is so heavily influenced by the language of World War One. And he suggests that the language of each war is influenced by the language of the war previous to it. So the Vietnam War is seen through a lens of the Second World War. Fussell himself fought in the Second World War. He only died in 2012, I discovered today. It's a good book. I would say don't read it as the first thing you read about World War One. I'd say read the actual text themselves and make your own mind up about what you think the themes, style, allusions are. Then read Paul Fussell, and then read some of the people who have written in against him. His Wikipedia page has a sort of section on people who have taken umbrage at some of his approaches, but I do think it's a useful book to read, because it makes you think about what you've read in the past. It's very well written. It's very well researched. He talks about some of the research in the afterward, and yeah, I think it's. I'm glad I reread it because I have more knowledge that makes the second read of it much more useful. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it as a first book to read about World War One. I'd read the original material, the poetry, the prose, and perhaps a sort of general World War One history to get your understanding of the events of the battles and the decision making and the people involved. Then read Paul Fussell. The actual book has a nice little short bibliography at the end, suggested reading actually I think it's called, which is actually very useful, and I would recommend maybe using that then as a step on to reading other stuff. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and I do recommend it, but as I said, not as a first read about World War One. And then I started Edmund Blunden's Undertones of War. I've only actually read so far the introduction from the Penguin Classic, and Blunden's own forwards and and comments on the second edition and comments on the third edition, and about 10 pages of the actual book. It is Edmund Blunden seems to be a really likeable person, and even in the start of his own book, you seem to get the sort of impression that he's a nice, innocent lad sent off to war. I think he was very, very young when he became when he went up to when he went to war. I think he was like 1920. Um, and in fact, there's a scene in the first sort of 10 pages where he's travelling on a train with a Scottish soldier and an engineer who um, have already been involved in the war. And when he tells them their age, the Scotsman apparently bursts into tears and says, "But you're just a boy. You're just a boy," which is quite interesting. And actually, there's a great line. I'm going to see if I can get it up on my. Where's my phone gone? Oh, here. Because I was reading it on my phone on the train. There's a great line, dry, sarcastic line early on. It's like literally, but like in the first paragraph, I think. Um, where is it? Come on, boy. Using this phone. This phone is so old. Come on. Oh yeah. There was something about France in those days which looked to me, despite all journalistic enchanters, to be dangerous. Which I think is just like that's like the second paragraph of chapter one. Um, so yeah, so that's what I read today. I'm keeping this short because it is very late, and I will catch up with you all tomorrow. And it's almost tomorrow already here in England. Um, yeah, I'll stop talking now because otherwise I'm just going to waffle on about unimportant things. So there you go, day 13. See you on the morrow.